Drives me mad every time I come in here. We're like a little catwalk for the cows now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on this beautiful but very cold day. It's a crazy week this week. We've got like loads of bits and pieces going on, just odd jobs trying to get caught up. A bit like last week, just trying to get all those things ticked off the list before Christmas, because that is rapidly approaching. It's like, my God, it's not that far away now. It's just like proper crept up on me. I don't really understand where it's come from. First thing I'm going to show you though is down here at the bullpens, because obviously last week we cast this whole concrete strip in here, and look at that, it's working so well. We've got all the sort of muck and slurry and wet muck over here, and then all the straw over there. Big man's having a bit of a lie down in the corner. Normally that straw would have dragged out into here and it would just be an absolute nightmare, but that's going to be so good. I'm really pleased with how that's worked. I know some people were saying in the comments about the edges because they're square and the bulls catching themselves on it. I don't think that's an issue myself. I just feel like if you tripped over every time you went out the door, or you caught your foot on something every time you went out your back door, you'd just pick your foot up higher, wouldn't you? The bull seems fine. It doesn't seem to be bothering him at all. He feeds out there, he goes backwards and forwards, he doesn't seem to catch it, so I don't think it's much of a problem. But the other thing I had to do last week, that I haven't done yet, is actually build this gate. So that's going to be one of the jobs this week. The first thing I need to do is actually measure it up. I think we got that, so let's head up to the workshop and start and knock one up. Right, let's flick these lights on. Oh, I've got to sort this mess out. Gonna need half of that in a minute. So I've done this thing when measuring the gates, which I'm sure, I don't know, I'm not the only person that does this. I know people hate people like this. I'm not normally one of these people, I'm gonna put it out there. But this is just the best way to measure the gates. I don't know if you can see on here, I've done all the measurements. Now some of this is in centimeters, some of it is in feet, whole feet, and some of it is in inches, because that was the closest I could work it out to make it the most accurate, because Dad's built these gates before and I don't know what he's built them in, but there's not a round inch in length. I don't really understand how long they are, but they are 289 centimeters long. They're 4 foot tall, and then they're like, and then it's just other things are in inches. I don't know, it works. So what we've got to do, I've got to have a bit of a sort out just here, because all that green steel you can see there has all been from something we don't need anymore. It's all some old like stuff out the old Beaters trailer from back when we had the shoot. I'm going to cut them up to make the gate. Now what's great about that is it's already painted the right colour. I'm going to cut the bits of steel out. Once I've got the steel out, I can just knock it together with the arc welder, make some sort of gate. That's out of my old truck, because when we had Freddie, I had to part with the old truck in order for something a little bit more family friendly. I'm going to clear all that up, get myself some space, and then I'm going to have to try and work out what I wrote down there. But by the time I've done all that, I'll have forgot what any of this means, and I'll have to probably go and measure it again. Oh, welding rods. Jesus Christ, that's heavy. Why is there tights in here? Genuinely need to tidy this workshop up. Like we've got, it's just, all that steel is like old, really old. I can't remember a time when that wasn't there, and I'm 32, so that needs to go. Me and Dad were saying, my sister's like had a bit of a sort out in her warehouse, and we've got some of her racking down the shed, and we're gonna get rid of all that, put some of that racking up, because she doesn't want it anymore, and then put like some of this oil and stuff on the racking, so that we actually have some space in here, because it's just chaos. And it gets worse. Everyone's workshop's the same, I'm sure, apart from those people that are really annoying. It's got the beautifully neat workshops. But this place just needs a sort out. It's drives me mad every time I come in here. It just gets worse.
Come on! Yeah! Here we go! Yeah! 1, 2, 3, 4! Come on! Let's go!
There we go, look. Chopped up. I think I should have more than enough steel there to do this. I know in an ideal world, I'd build it all out of new steel. And like MIG weld it all and whatever else, but it's like, we just have this steel lying around, we might as well use it. It's not going to be any better or worse using new steel. I have got a gate I do need to build, which we'll have to use new steel for. But yeah, might as well just use this up. I don't know, it's like a farmer thing, innit? You just like, you use all of the stuff you got knocking around first. And that's why we've got that big pile of rubbish in the back corner, because we've used all the good stuff, and that's all the crap what's left. Somewhere I've got a set square. I don't know where it is. Found my set square. Dad had nicked it. Can't have nothing nice these days. Just thought, maybe welding on oil barrels isn't the smartest thing I've ever done. Be alright. If you're wondering why Dad had got my set square, it's because he's been making that. Now we love this Emily bucket, it's brilliant. One of the problems with it is it came with like a rubber flap, very similar to what that plastic thing is on there. Very similar rubber flap. Problem is, that's perfect if you're in a big yard, lots of space, really good open troughs. When you're in a yard that's like this, narrow gangways, and especially on the inside gangway where you go around a 90-degree bend and you've got the race one side with the cattle crush and then the other side is the trough, and it's very, very tight. You have to be really careful because you just catch that rubber flap and it bolts on like here and here, and then it bolts on underneath. And well, obviously it's not on there anymore because it gets caught and it just rips. And it's just like, it's probably the worst thing about the bucket is the design of the flap, just not really built for ever getting caught. And I always think like stuff, yeah, you don't want to catch it, but inevitably at some point it's going to get caught, so needs to be built a little bit better. I put this rubber flap thing on underneath just to propel the corner a little bit further. Oh God, probably 6 months or so ago. And then Dad has been feeding with the bucket lately, and he's built this sort of kind of plastic thing. I don't really know what it is. I get his point, is because he's saying you have to get so close with the forklift that you rub the tyres and it's just a bit of a pain. So it's just to propel it out a bit more. He says he might have to alter the angle on it a bit just to tip it down, but we're going to see how it goes. Because the bucket is brilliant. The flap is not. It's not really the flap's fault. It's probably more our shed's fault, if that makes sense. Like it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. This flap could be better, our sheds could be better, but hopefully that'll do it. Or if not, that'll get us somewhere close to working out what we need to do to make it better. Whew, and there we go. Nice, all welded up. Now, I know I'm going to have upset a lot of the fabrication contingent on YouTube with this, because like the paint and the secondhand steel and like, I get it, I'm with you. But we didn't have new steel because it's expensive at the minute. I haven't got the time to wait for it because like time is money and money is money, and we ain't got either of them things right now. So we just got to make do with what we've got. One thing I will say though, whenever I put hinges in a gate, and I make new gates quite often, I always put collars in because I just think it adds a bit of strength to the gate on the hinge. My dad doesn't do it, and I think that the gates that have got the collars in, I think they hang better, I think they last better, I don't think they sag anywhere near as much. If you're going to build a gate, whether it's, you know, like this, and a blind man would probably not want to see it, or you're going to build a new one, put some collars in your hinges. And I've also realised it isn't the right colour green. It's a darker green than that, what we now use. So I'm going to have to paint it, which means I'm probably not going to get it done in this video. So I'm actually going to make like a gate string out over 3 videos, which I think is kind of impressive. Whew, it is bitterly cold this morning. I'm just bringing you down the yard here to show you a little bit of a thing that my dad's been doing whilst I've been making that gate. And I've got some little bits of rebar. We're doing a bit of a building project. It's not major, but it's going to make a big difference to our cattle race. What we're doing here is we're gonna concrete a bit of a step. So Dad's been putting his shuttering in, as you can see. Kind of like made all this shuttering up. We're gonna fill that with concrete. Now the reason is because we obviously weigh cattle in here. The cattle come down the race from that end. And because the crush is on weigh cells, it's like a little bit off the ground. And what we were having trouble with is cows would come along and then you'd bed the race down or whatever, and they'd shove the muck underneath the crush, and then that would affect your weigh scales. So what we then did is we put a rubber flap on the back to stop them shoving the muck underneath. Then what they'd do is they'd wedge the muck between this bar here and the rubber flap, which should have the same effect. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna concrete this step in, because cows will walk up steps, it's fine, like 7-inch step, it's not a major deal. Our old parlour in the back there used to have stairs coming back down to come out here. So we're going to concrete this step in here, then put the rubber flap over the top of there so that it doesn't affect the scales and we don't get the muck wedged down the back of it. These bits of rebar we're going to put in these holes here so that the concrete doesn't move, because obviously it's a slab on top of a slab, so we've got to be really careful with that. The other thing is obviously IAI in there, and I've got little legs. I'm not very tall, I'm like 5'9". That'll make AI in a little bit easier for me because I'll be 7 inches higher than the cow, because even on my little stabilizer cows, like these guys, I still have to be kind of high when they're on that cattle crush. So that'll level it off a little bit. And the other thing is the vet that we now have is like our beef specialist vet, is called Rosanna. She's great, she's a brilliant vet, but she's only little. She's very, very small. And she's gonna have to like PD these cows next week. And we were a little bit concerned that it's just gonna be hard work for her, because she's gonna be down there and the cows are all gonna be up here, and she's gonna have a step, and then she's gonna have to keep taking the step in and out. So we're like, right, you know what, let's get on and concrete this. So we're gonna concrete it, and then when it's kind of semi-set, we're gonna put some grooves in it as well. So, and the other thing, the guillotine gate should shut then on top of that step, which will stop any trouble with cows getting their heads underneath and lifting the guillotine gate. So we're gonna go start mixing some cement up and fill that in. Oh, and you may have also noticed, look at this, new coat. I got this coat. This is a TorraMór coat. This is amazing. So TorraMór are a Scottish brand. They are completely made in Britain, which I think is super important, because it's great to like look after people who work and live in Britain. So I love this coat. I'm going to be now working with TorraMór, which is amazing. So they do waterproof coats. There's Smocks, which is this, and it is so warm. It's a brand I've been keeping my eye on for a long time, and I'm really excited to actually now be working with them. It comes in this colour. You can get it in green, you can get it in like a blue. They do it in Smock, which is this. They do a coat, they do leggings. They've like got some fleece stuff. They're bringing out loads of wool things because they use wool sustainably. They're an amazing company, and this coat is like, honestly, it is freezing here today. It's definitely the coldest day that we've had since last winter, and this coat is keeping me so warm, and it's just like so free. Oh, it's brilliant. Honestly, treat yourself, because it's awesome stuff. I'm gonna be wearing this all the time now. There we go. That looks pretty good, I think. We'll let that dry a little bit, and then we can come in later on and just put some grooves in once it's dry enough to take them. It'll be like a little catwalk for the cows now. We've got that. You can just get up there, walk in. We're going to get the rubber flap, just fill that gap in. Once it's dry, we'll bolt that down, and hopefully that solves many of our problems. But it might have caused one, because we've got this bar that runs along here, and when we get in and out, because we're a bunch of slapheads, we might catch our heads on it. So we were just discussing that we might actually have to cut that out and weld up over the top so that we've got some space, but we'll worry about that. We'll see how we get on with it, and then once we've skinned our heads, we'll fix it then. Actually, I did mention that as like a catwalk for the cows. It could be like a catwalk for me in my new coat. It's a little bit later in the day now. I want to go and check that concrete and see whether it's fit to put any grooves in before we go home. But first, just gotta give these beauties in there a bit more cereal. I need about another 130 kilos to top them off for the day. They're filling out really well now, them heifers. They're just starting to kind of get hold of that ration that they're on and just, you know, fill them out, which is nice. It's good to see. I love watching cattle grow. It's just like one of my favourite things in the world to do is watch cattle grow, whether they're out of grass or in the shed, just watching them change. There's something about it, it really is. It's to me, that's ASMR. Watching cattle grow is my version of ASMR. Right, just come to have a look at this concrete, and just a little bit wet. I think it's a bit too wet to do anything with it right now. Dad says he's going to come down last thing tonight and check it and see if it's any good or not, and then just do it then. Or if not, we'll have to do it first thing in the morning. But it's cold, as you can tell from my breath, so it's not going to go off super quick. Right, so I'll leave that for today. All these girls have just been forked in and fed. Dad's finished feeding down the gangway. He's just letting the cows out. Right, that's me done for another week. Whatever you get up to, look after yourselves. Have a great weekend. I have my brother-in-law's wedding, which is very exciting. Oh, and go and check out TorraMór as well. Check out their gear, because it is amazing gear. I cannot speak to you enough about how good this stuff is. Go check it out. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in a bit. Ta-da!